What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with more from the We Save Us playlist. Again, shout out to all those involved, and Kim has provided another couple of Dead Pioneers songs. I want to insist, I've been meaning to get back to this band, because Kim made them available outside of the context of the Songs for an Uneventful Weekend playlist, and I've been meaning to get there, and I just haven't gotten back around to them, but what better time to go through some more of their tunes but another playlist that speaks to the social, cultural, economic, and political issues facing those who want nothing more than to have their voice heard, to be part of a society that is not indifferent to suffering and cruelty, but instead strives to be better than that. So I feel like this is the perfect time to bring them back, but I will go through some of their material outside of these playlists. I do vow that. But the next tune we're going to hear from them is Working Class Warfare. This is another one from their Post-American album 2025, and the quote that Kim served up for this track, relative, or not relative, but in terms of, or in the context of Tears for Fears lyrics, is the end of need and the politics of greed, which is a line from Sowing the Seeds of Love. So yes, this title, once again, makes me think about how currently in the US, and certainly other places too, but many policies are being enacted that put the greatest burden, or that are the most troublesome and deleterious, to those at the bottom of the socioeconomic pyramid, if you will, and attempting to pay for things which are either cruel and or unnecessary on the backs of the people who are the most burdened already, who have the most difficult time surviving in the world of consumer capitalism and so on. So yes, I feel like this song is not only appropriate to the current moment, hence its inclusion in this playlist of course, but it speaks to the manner in which those with the least are often burdened the most by those who have the most and are keen to maintain that type of status quo. So again, very punk rock in its ethos and sentiment. Let's give it a listen. This is Dead Pioneers. The track is Working Class Warfare. Wait. Okay, so the track here, the reason I trailed off and got confused is because the track in the folder indeed says Working Class Warfare. In the playlist that Kim sent, it says World Class Warfare. I'm assuming that may just be a little typo. I mean, more or less the meaning would seem to be quite similar, but perhaps a little more international in the other phrasing. I'm going to go with Working Class Warfare when I label this video, but Kim, if that's wrong, do let me know. In any case, here we go, Dead Pioneers, and I think Working Class Warfare, a song from 2025.
We choose the right to be who we are. We know the difference between the reality of freedom and the illusion of freedom.
Disobey, no calling in sick today. They're greedy overlords, they will make you pay. Your worth is minimum wage, it doesn't matter your age. Profits over people, I'm in a fit of rage. The revolution is televised, nothing hidden nor disguised. The rich are getting richer, and we are not surprised. Say or earn a living, earn the right to live. Dismantle social class, a pound of what we give. It's capitalism you see, and it doesn't work for me. It collapses all around us, and wouldn't you agree? Freedom shouldn't have to have a fee. Rule of law, rule of thumb, they will work us to kingdom come. No one cares until they care. Poverty for all, prosperity for some. They're having a ball.
have a fee. I love that. There are a lot of punk songs that end with a bit of feedback like that. But yes, that is a line Kim highlighted in advance. I forgot to mention it, but I feel like it served its function in the larger set of lyrics very prominently, so it was hard to miss. And yes, again, I not only sympathize with the sentiments there, but I think it also perfectly reflects the way that, again, systems which are constructed by the haves tend to benefit the haves, and policies historically and right up on into the present are enacted such that the people who own businesses and run them and pay laborers try to enforce the system of people who do those kind of jobs getting as little as they can possibly give, and again, fighting against unions, fighting against minimum wage laws, and doing everything they can to maintain that disproportionate relationship. And again, market economies, you can talk about their utility, and again, in context with public spending, there's something to be said for that. But this sort of hyper-capitalistic, again, everything has a price, utilities have a price, basic needs and goods have a price, and essentially pricing out those at the bottom of the pyramid so that people up top can make just a little bit more, so they can take more for their, CEO bonus and so on. It is, of course, indicative of a sickness that is not only full of greed and avarice, but one that dehumanizes people on the other end of the spectrum. And of course, there are political angles to this. It made me think that the original Declaration of Independence, it was going to have a line that, people are entitled to the pursuit of life, liberty, and property. And of course, for the first many decades of U.S.'s history in most of the states, you could only vote not only if you were European and fair-skinned and a male, but you could actually only vote, even if you fit all those categories, if you owned property, if you owned a plot of land. And so therefore, if you were a laborer, if you were an indentured servant and so on, no political influence for you, no ability to alter your course of life through having a voice in government and society. Now, again, the powers that be, the people who drafted that document, let's say wisely, shrewdly, changed it to pursuit of happiness, so that the idea is like, well, they might not ever own land, they might not ever own property or their own business or even be able to control their life economically, but they can pursue happiness, right? And there's happiness in work and so on. So yes, it made me think of the way that from the country's very founding, this idea that those with the most would establish a system that would, for all its relative liberality, relative freedom compared to absolutist monarchies and, full-blown authoritarian dictatorships, was still set up to benefit those at the very top of the society, and at best exploit and utilize those at the other end while keeping them in that station. So yes, this song fits into a long line of punk tracks I'm familiar with, which call out the way the working man and woman are kept in their place, exploited for their labor to the very day they die, and, given at best a pittance, a small pension at the end of that service, and in many cases working with no benefits, no retirement plan, and again, no ability to unionize or to bargain collectively with their fellow workers, with the companies that are utilizing their labor to make those profits, which are heading upward. And of course, we won't even get into trickle-down economics, which we're still waiting for that to trickle down, unfortunately. So yes, I'll stop ranting. Once again, as I do these reactions, I insist, I hope that people of different perspectives are watching these videos, because as I said in a video yesterday, I feel like if there's any demographic, cultural, socio-political that could benefit from hearing things outside of their echo chamber, outside of their preferred narratives. It's people who might actually be committed to that system and who might be resentful of those rabble-rousers who dare to challenge the way in which we, again, pursue capitalism in such a hyper intensity that we're actually forgetting the humanity of all manner of citizens on the other end of the spectrum. So, again, everyone is welcome to watch my videos, but as my voice flags, I will just say that, of course, I do have opinions, I do share a punk ethos, and I think this band has incredible lyrics and perspectives, which I am very sympathetic towards. So once again, there's another tune right after this coming from Dead Pioneers, but even once we finish this playlist, I will go through more of them. So thank you again to Kim, as well as to Brian, who I understand checked out the reactions I did to them previously. Let me know what you think of the tune, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.